The Cursed City by Ludwig Bechstein. High upon the Alpine mountains lay a large flourishing city, surrounded by towering, jagged peaks, covered in eternal snow. The city itself, however, was situated on a vast, sunny meadow, where countless cattle grazed. The people who inhabited this Alpine city were a pastoral folk, living almost entirely secluded from the inhabitants of the lower regions. Seldom did a traveler or a pack horse traverse the mountain paths that lead over those high Alps toward Italy. And seldom did the inhabitants of this mountain city see a stranger. But one day they saw a strange traveler stride through their town, a tall, solemn figure. His face was brownish in color, yet pale, with a long beard. His hair was black mixed with grey, and his garment was a long brown robe, girded with a cord. His footwear consisted of sturdy shoes fastened around the ankles with thongs. The man seemed weary and in great need of rest, but he bore a curse that forbade him to sit or tarry until someone bid him sit and stay. The inhabitants of the high mountain city looked upon the strange man with a peculiar awe, and he inspired in them a strange dread. The man went from house to house, standing before every door, waiting for someone to say to him, "Sit down and rest." But no one spoke such words. Instead, more and more people gathered, gazing at him with curiosity, and the weary man stood and sighed. Then the town elder, who was also a priest, stepped forward and said to him, "Listen, stranger, we know who you are and can see it in your countenance. You are none other than the wandering Jew. You are condemned to wander eternally because you denied the Saviour of the world a brief rest on the stone bench before your house in Jerusalem. On his way to the bitter death on the cross. Therefore, begone from our city. For you cannot tarry here, nor are you permitted to tarry, and we cannot and must not harbor or shelter you, lest we bring sorrow upon ourselves. Go with God." At this, the wandering Jew opened his pale lips and spoke, "I shall go now, and you shall remain. But you shall perish, and I shall endure. When I return to this place for the second time, I shall indeed find a site here, but no city. And when I come for the third time, I shall no longer even find the site where your city once stood." All who heard these words were struck with fear and shrunk back in awe as the dark man shook his staff, strode through their crowded ranks, and walked out of the town with the weary gait, high up into the inhospitable mountains. Not one of them ever saw him again. From that day forward, no new house was ever built in that city, no herd increased, no child was born. Many a household soon died out. And after a number of years, many houses stood completely empty and fell into ruin. Avalanches thundered down from the mountains and crushed the houses. Landslides occurred, and mighty boulders now lay where once a bustling, cheerful life filled the street of the city. For 50 years, the great city remained an Alpine village, with widely scattered isolated houses. Meager sustenance, thin herds, and sickly inhabitants. They no longer descended to the lower-lying villages, and no one climbed up to them from below. This everything up there finally became desolated and empty. No burial mound was raised over the last of the dead. Instead, the collapsing houses buried them beneath ruins. Then rock slides, which are called muren in the Alpine lands, buried those ruins in turn. or mud flows poured down from the mountain peak and covered everything. After 100 years, the traveler returned. Where the positions of the surrounding mountains reached, he recognized the site. Tall trees had grown from the ruins here and there. A remnant of a wall still stood, but one could no longer truly distinguish whether they were natural rocks or works of human hands. Mighty bushes with colorful alpine flowers had stood up where streets had once been, and grass grew where man's peaceful dwellings had formerly stood. And the wandering Jew sighed and said, "What did David, the king over Israel, once sing? He sang, 'For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, you shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be.' And he lifted his foot and wandered on, restless and without ease, across the high mountains. Yet the sight of that city did not remain as it had been. It became even more desolate, barren, and ghostly. Tough, quiet, gradually, and so slowly, year by year, the alpine shrubs withered away, the grass dried up, and no more rain fell in this high mountain region. Even when the summer sun stood at its highest, the springs which had previously rushed down from the higher peaks of the mountains as delightful waterfalls froze and formed sheets of greenish ice over themselves. They became glaciers, and these glaciers grew larger and larger, advancing more and more over the once beautiful green sunny meadows, covering them entirely. When the restless traveler climbed up into the mountains once again, after another 100 years had passed, he no longer found or recognized the site where the flourishing city had once stood. Opening his mouth, he spoke, "Fulfilled now is the word of the Lord, which he spoke through the mouth of the prophet, whose servant. I will stretch out my hand upon them and make the land desolate and waste." Hiding under the blanket already? No? Then we'll try again next week. If you enjoyed the story, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to hear next. Sleep well and have terrible, beautiful dreams.